आज वॉइस ऑफ हुबली इसके तत्वाधान में श्री कार सिद्धेश्वर आर्ट्स कॉलेज और एचएस कोटांबरी साइंस इंस्टीट्यूट इनके छात्रों के बीच ये संवाद का कार्यक्रम यहाँ पर हो रहा है। मैं सबसे पहले आप सभी का बहुत बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ और विशेष रूप से जो मेरे विद्यार्थी बहन और भाई यहाँ पर उपस्थित है उनका भी आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ कि मुझे युवाओं से द यूथ ऑफ हुबली, द यूथ ऑफ कर्नाटका, द यूथ ऑफ इंडिया, इनसे इंटरेक्शन करने का एक मौका आज इस कार्यक्रम के माध्यम से मिल रहा है। मैंने पूछा कि मैं कौन सी भाषा में इंटरेक्ट करूं, तो मुझे बताया गया कि कुछ हिंदी कुछ इंग्लिश ऐसा मिक्स भाषा में इंटरेक्शन हो। तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि हम एक बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण समय पर आज सभी लोग एकत्रित हैं। In the history of world, this is a time where we can say that future lies with India. It is a time where the entire world is looking towards India. It is a time when India is going to play a very major role in the world polity and in the development of the world. All of us know that India is going through a demographic advantage. In year 2020, India became world's most youthful country. The average age of India in 2020 became 25 years. That means that a country where working population is about 69%, and this is a demographic advantage where people who are dependent are less in number and people who can work, who can earn for them is in a greater number. This is called demographic advantage. And if we look at the world history, this demographic advantage was initially with Europe. And while this demographic advantage was with Europe, the entire Europe became a developed group of nations. Then it went to America. America became a developed nation. Then it went to Japan. Japan became a developed nation. Then it went to Korea. Korea became a developed nation. And 30 years back, the same demographic advantage went to China. And China became a developed nation. And now, from 2020, this demographic advantage has come to India. Our Honorable past President, APJ Abdul Kalam, was the first person to identify this demographic advantage. And in 2004-2005, he said that India has to prepare itself for this advantage which is going to come in 2020. And he used to say that if the demographic advantage, it will become a demographic disaster, because in any country where you have a huge youthful population, a population which is aspiring, and if that population is not transformed into human resource, then there will be a population with no work to do, there will be a population with no skills, there will be a population which will be youth but directionless. स्वामी विवेकानंद हमेशा कहते थे, युवा कहते ना हम यूथ को, तो स्वामी विवेकानंद कहते थे युवा का अर्थ क्या होता है? वो कहते थे युवा इस शब्द को अगर हम उल्टा करें तो वायु शब्द बनता है, वायु यानी एयर। और वायु कैसी होती है? वायु जब सही दिशा में चलती है तो इट इज ऑक्सीजन, वो हमको जीने की राह देती है। विदाउट ऑक्सीजन यू कैन नॉट लिव, सो यूथ इज लाइक दैट। बट अगर वही वायु डायरेक्शनलेस होती है, डायरेक्शनलेस, और ये तूफान बनती है तो गांव को उजाड़ देती है, सेटलमेंट्स को उजाड़ देती है। युवा भी ऐसा ही है। ये जो युवा है, ये जब एक सही डायरेक्शन में जाता है तो ऑक्सीजन का काम करता है, और जब वो डायरेक्शन लेस होता है तो तूफान बनता है और समाज को, सोसाइटी को खत्म कर देता है। और ये जो बात स्वामी विवेकानंद जी ने कही थी, इसी बात को प्रतिपादित करने का काम एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम जी ने किया था। एंड ही ऑलवेज यूज्ड टू से कि नाउ इज अ टाइम which we can say it's India's time unless we prepare for it. Unfortunately, we did not prepare for it for a long time. करीब 10 साल हमने उसके लिए कुछ नहीं किया. It was only when Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji became Prime Minister, he understood that if I don't utilize this time and if I allow this time to pass, this country will never be a developed nation. This country will never come out of poverty. This country will never be able to employ its human resource. And realizing this potential of our country, Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji started Skill Development Ministry. Now why it is important? Because globally, if we see, the job market has totally changed. Today, you may be a degree holder, but you may not get a job unless you have skills. There are many commerce graduates. Today, after GST, when I talk to my friends who are chartered accountants, they say, we require huge manpower. But then I say, there are so many commerce graduates, why don't you employ them? He says they are unemployable. They may possess a degree, but they don't have skill of accounting. So this is where the entire job market has changed. And today, the one who possesses skill is more job seeker than the one who possesses a mere degree. And realizing that, our Honorable Prime Minister started Skill Development Ministry, and entire country was surveyed vis-a-vis the skill market, and based on that the skill sectors were finalized and the skill development started, skilling started. Today, if you go to any industry and if you ask any industrialist, what is your problem? He says, I have a good industry, I have a good market, but I don't have skilled manpower. And if you ask a youth, what is your problem? The youth says that I don't have job, I am a jobless. So this is a disconnect between the job market and the youth, and this disconnect can be bridged through skill development, and that is what he understood. And not just India, but understand that 2020, when India became the most youthful country of the world, in the same year the demographies of other countries started changing. So in years to come, the demography or the median age of Eastern Europe will be 44 years. The median age of Western Europe, 41 years. The median age of America, 37 years. The median age of Japan, 45 years. The median age of China, 39 years. So entire developed world is aging. The entire developed world requires human resource to fuel their economy, to run their industries, to run their businesses, because they have now a reverse ratio. There are more dependents, there are more elderly people in these economies who cannot work. For those economies who cannot earn for themselves, the country has to earn for them, and for that the country requires a human resource. Now this global human resource is available only with India. If India transforms its human resource or its population into human resource, we can give human resource to entire world, and that is what is realized by Honorable Prime Minister, and through skill development and through NEP, the new education policy. Just consider, our education policy was decided in 1986, and from there was no change made in our education policy. Today, if you look at 1986, there was no internet, there was no artificial intelligence. The entire ethos, the entire systems, the entire methodology and the entire technology which we have today was not available in 1986. So Prime Minister understood that the education system or the education policy which we adopted in 1986 has become obsolete. This education policy can no more transform our youth into human resource, and that is why a new education policy has been brought in place. This new education policy increases the spending on education by threefold. It is from around 2% of the GDP, it goes up to 6% of the GDP. So the spending on the education is increasing on one hand, and on the other hand, our basic education was from year 6 to year 14. Now it will be from year 3. So the toddlers will also be now part of our system from year 3 to age 18. This entire basic education system will cater to you. And what it essentially does, it actually gives impetus first to the languages. All of us know that after Britishers went away, we transformed our entire education system into English. English is an international language, no offense with English. But the problem is that the cognitive thinking of any human being is better in their mother tongue. We are the people, English is a foreign language for us. Many times we think in our language. You think in Kannada and then translate it into English. I think in Marathi and I translate it into English. So there is a gap. So what Prime Minister Modi ji did with this NEP is to create the entire curriculum in the local language. And I am very happy that the government of Karnataka was the first government who implemented NEP. NEP was first implemented in Karnataka, and for the first time the engineering as well as medical education was started, it is now given in the Kannada language. See, Japan is best in electronics. Their entire education system is in Japanese language. Germany is best in engineers. their entire education system in Deutsch, that is German language. Koreans are now emerging in all electronics. Their entire education system is in Korean language. China, for that matter, has emerged as factory of world. Their entire education system is in Chinese language. If all these countries could progress imparting education in their own language, then why can't India do that? In fact, it is more scientific for a nation to allow its students to study in their mother tongue, because it is the mother tongue which actually allows us to understand the basics. Many times when we study in English, I have seen many students, they are the best, they earn a lot of marks, but they don't know the basics. It is only, they by heart, they learn all those chapters and they write those chapters or they write those things in the answer sheet and get good marks. So they may be informed, but they are not knowledgeable. We have to create a human resource which is not just informed, it has to be knowledgeable. And that is why this new education system is now allowing us also to study in our languages. Secondly, our entire system was watertight. There was art stream, there was commerce stream, there was science stream. After science stream, there was vocational, where engineering after science stream, and medical. So, if we look at our education system, it was in such a watertight compartment, and today, if you look at the exposure to the students have exposure of everything. So tomorrow, if I want to study physics, but at the same time, I am good in fine arts, I'll either have to choose physics or I'll have to choose fine arts. I cannot do both the things simultaneously, but you can do it now. Now in the new education policy, if I am a good painter and at the same time I want to do biology, I want to do physics, I want to do chemistry, I want to become a doctor, I can do both the things at the same time. So the flexibility, these watertight compartments between the streams of education have been broken now, and a person with his ability and with his interest can actually choose the number of subjects or type of subjects they want to choose, and I think that is opening doors to one's interest. Many times we find people who are pursuing a degree for the sake of degree. Actually they have different interests. They don't have interest in that stream. So now whatever dreams you have, those dreams can be fulfilled through this new education policy, and this new education policy also gives you credit. So there are times, because now in the new education policies the degree course will be 4 years course, but somebody does 1 year and has to opt out. There are times because of family constraints, because of certain other reasons, people have to go out. Then also they will get a certificate and they will get a credit. So whenever in future they want to come back and do something based on that certificate, they will be able to do it. If they do it for second year, they will get a diploma. So 2 years of study will give you diploma. It will not be a case that I could study for 2 years and then I could not study and I have nothing to do. It will not be a case. And also this entire process is now skill based. It has made skill based. So now you are not studying mere static things, but applied things, the things which are really useful in your life to give you jobs. So this entire new education policy will change the way we used to create our human resource, and this human resource will not only benefit India, but it will benefit the entire world. And look how the India has transformed. In last 9 years, we were 11th in our size of economy. 11th in the size of economy. Today, in 9 years, we are 5th in the world. And by 2030, we will be 3rd in the world. By 2030, only US and China will be ahead of us. And our Prime Minister aspires that by 2047, we will be the biggest economy in the world. That is the way we are going forward. And when the economy expands, what happens? It creates jobs. It creates opportunities. Today, when Prime Minister started startup, people used to say, what is this startup? But it has given wings to the dreams of our youth. Today, we can see Bengaluru, so many startups are there. Students who were, or youth who were seeking jobs are now job givers. And after China, now the biggest startup ecosystem is in India. And Indian youth are doing such wonderful things in the tech startups. And these startups are not only reducing costs, but it is also easing the lives of the people of our country. So I think all these policies of our Honorable Prime Minister, and thirdly, just look at the geopolitics. After COVID, the entire world economy is in recession. America is in recession, Britain is in recession, Europe is in recession, China is in recession. The only country which has not faced the recession is India. India, our growth rate is highest among the world, because in past 9 years, our Prime Minister invested in people. He invested in infrastructure. He invested in rural development. He invested in building houses for the poor. He invested in creating toilets for the poor. He invested in giving facilities to the poor. And our GDP growth for 9 years has been fueled by our investment in the rural area, our investment in the poor people. And that is why we did not hit the recession, and India is booming. And today, for past 30 years, China has been factory of world. But now everybody has realized that putting all eggs in one basket is not advisable. So all the industries in China want to put another industry elsewhere, so that they can smoothly move from China. And their choice today is India, because of Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's efforts, because of the ecosystem which he has created. And tomorrow's factory of world will no more be China. Tomorrow's factory of world will be India. That is the opportunity which India has got today. And I think with all these policies, who is going to benefit? The people, my sisters and brothers who are sitting in front of me. It is you who are going to benefit, because it is your generation will reap the fruits of all these changes which are made by Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji. I may continue, but somehow I have realized that I have passed 30 minutes. So I will not speak more, but I would like to tell you that this is time for India. This is time for us to lead the way for the entire world. And you are part of it. You can do it. Have confidence in yourself and go forward. And I am sure that your generation will see a day where India will be a developed nation. Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
So it was a wonderful speech by you. So it's a time for the introduction, and where Sir covered about all the whole India's transformation through the ABP, to Skill India, the global languages, and what is the position of India in front of the whole world. So in this context, you can ask the questions to the sir. So there will be a Q&A session for 15 minutes. So you can start. Mics. I request you to give the mics. And 2 mics here also.
So what are the plans to implement the new education policy from the ground level? So as every university is saying that they have implemented NEP, but the stakeholders of education like students, faculties and the institute managements are not actually unaware of what actually NEP made difference in the present education. For example, many universities have just shuffled their subjects and syllabus and it's saying that they have implemented NEP. So,
I think, hello. I think this is a very good question, and the fact is that we need to create more awareness on the implementation of NEP. You see, after around 30 years, we have changed our entire education policy. And while changing the education policy, there has been a huge discussion with the stakeholders. So around 3 years, this discussion with the stakeholders continued. And after considering all the views, this new policy has been created. One good thing with this policy is that it is not a mere policy on paper, but it also gives an implementation roadmap. And you know, when such changes happen, these are the generational changes. So it requires actual 6 to 7 years to actually, see the results of implementation of such policies. Right now, at the lowest level, there are training camps going on, whereby first the stakeholders, that is the teachers and the people from the universities and the school teachers and the college teachers, they are being involved and they are made aware of what are the changes which we have done. So since there is an entire shift, so this shift is happening. You are right that there are many universities who have just shuffled the courses, but now with the new framework, they will also have to adjust their entire curriculum to the to this NEP, and there is a accreditation system which is put in place. So those universities or colleges who will not do the accreditation will lose. They will no more get any help from the government. So it's a carrot and stick policy, where on one hand you are using the strict policies of penalizing them, and on the other hand you are also facilitating them to implement. So maybe, let's say in Karnataka, this is just a second year of NEP. In next 2-3 years, the visibility of NEP will increase and the actual fruits will start after that.
The next question. Next question. I'll take mine closer.
Take the other mic.
good afternoon, sir. My name is Sultana Atta. My question is it possible to have one nation, one common entrance test for all the professional courses like medical, engineering, pharma and agriculture, so that the ranking can be state-wise and people can, the students can especially, can stay in their home state for opting their courses. So it can lessen the burden on the parents and students.
I think that is a very good suggestion, and it is already being implemented through NEP. Right now we have a common entrance test for medical, we have a common entrance test for law, and in engineering for IIT and that type of courses there is a common entrance test. But the NEP feels that there should be a national testing agency which should conduct all the tests, and there should be so that many times students are burdened with so many tests. This university, that university, that university, that college. It should not be the case. In one stream, there should be one common entrance test, and that is what is being now framed for the entire country.
Yeah, next question. Next question. Please tell your name and college and country.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Chinmay Doshi from Electronics and Telecommunication branch of Engineering from DVB College. So my question is about foreign investments. How can state government can attract more investment in the state, and also what is your opinion about foreign investment in the state of every state in the country now?
I think this is the right time to attract the foreign investment. As I have told you, that when the world is looking at China plus one policy, they are going to certain other countries also. But the China exodus, cannot be accommodated by those countries. Ultimately, it is only India which has a human resource and infrastructure which can accommodate this exodus. So now for the states, it is a time where a lot of ease of doing business we have to concentrate. See, for any industry to come, EODB and CODB, ease of doing business and cost of doing business. These are the two things which will determine which state will attract more and more investment. And our Prime Minister's stress has always been on these two things. So how we can lower down the costs for the industries to come, because the industries have to be globally competitive. For global competitiveness, the cost burden on the industries has to be lessened. And at the same time, the policies should be such that establishing an industry has to be seamless. Many times we talk of single window system, but when we open that window, there are many doors which we have to knock. It should not be like that. A single window has to be a single window. It has to be a very hassle-free experience. Thirdly, the law and order situation is also very important. And fourthly, the legal system. Because the foreign investment looks at the legal system and analyzes whether this system is discriminatory or not. Whether it treats a foreign investor and an Indian investor at the same platform. And if they see that it is at the same platform, then the foreign investor comes. So I think due to Prime Minister Modi ji's initiative, all the states have been into competitive federalism. So every state is creating new policies. They are easing, their laws. The ease of doing business is, priority of every state. So I think with these policies, foreign investment can come to all the states, and especially to the states like Karnataka, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Telangana, now UP are the leading states which are attracting foreign investment.
Thank you. Next question.
Good afternoon, sir. Myself Sania. I am studying BSc Final in SK Arts and HSK Science Institute, Hubballi. My question is, what are the initiatives taken by central government to promote or encourage the startups in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities?
Thank you, Sania. This is an absolutely great question, because the future is startup. And in fact, our aspiring population is so intelligent that they are creating tech solutions in every sector. I mean, earlier we used to think that the solutions will be more in the fintech, but now solutions are coming more in agri-tech. So agriculture is one field where more and more startups are coming. And just to tell you that most of these startups in agriculture are coming from the people who are from Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. So it is no more a Bangalore phenomena. Now the startups are coming from all the cities, But yes, we have to, provide them an ecosystem. You need to create more incubators. You need to provide them with angel investment funds. So I think that is now being done. And with Prime Minister's startup policy, the entire thrust is on tier 2 and tier 3 cities. You see, in a startup, when you come with a solution, you have to scale that solution. And if the solution is scalable and marketable, you require capital to make it scalable and marketable. And there the role of government comes. And with the new policies of our Honorable Prime Minister, it has become easy for a youth from tier 2 and tier 3 city to have access to the funds if he has a scalable and marketable startup.
Yeah, next.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Pawan from Kerala Species of Science College. Sir, my question is, how do your government create a welcoming environment for the youth in India?
You see, right now, the environment is very welcoming for the youth because the amount of opportunities which we can see in India are never seen before. And with schemes like BharatNet, where the optic fiber has reached almost every city and every village, I think the opportunities have scaled up. It is only that you have to look around you with a positivity. And there are opportunities in n numbers. Many times when we are with a very short-sighted mindset or a very pre-prepared mindset, then we don't find opportunities. Just look around you and it is full of opportunities which you can get, and for every opportunity a facilitation is there. If that facilitation is utilized, I think today's policies are most welcoming for the youth of the nation.
Yeah, next.
Good afternoon, sir. So I'm Vada Sheikh, studying in BSc final year. So my question is, at present, even though we are having outcome-based education, but that education is not providing enough employment to degree holders. So can't we think of employment-based education?
You are absolutely right. That is what is NEP doing now. Because for years together, we have been providing degrees. But those degrees, I should not say, but in many cases, they have been useless. They have not been able to provide the jobs. Because education has to be commensurate with the job market. And job market is ever changing. But the education system doesn't change for 30 years. So you have to create an education system which is more flexible, which is more interacting with the industry, with the jobs, and that's what right now we are doing. This new education policy, the entire policy is speaking with the job market. So on one hand, you have to inculcate ethos through our education system into our students. At the same time, we have to make them worthy for the jobs, and this new education policy will make them worthy for the jobs.
Thank you, sir.